Good morning. Today is Friday, December 17th, 2021. What I want to share with you this morning is a tiny, tiny sliver of a much larger presentation of the Rav Yossi Soloveitchik. This presentation is monumental. It's very famous. I have shared the whole thing with some of you in the past, and I hope to share the whole thing with you again at some point. But for today, just a short sliver that relates to a specific question in our Parsha that I hope that you will find as inspiring and meaningful as I find it to be. At the beginning of our Parsha of Yaakov, Yaakov gives a blessing to his grandchildren, Ephraim and Manasseh, and says, B'cha yivarech Yisrael. This is how the Jewish people will bless their children. Lamor, by saying to them, Yisimcha Elokim ki Ephraim v'chi Manasseh. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And of course, to our daughters, to our girls, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. But this blessing that Yaakov gives to his grandchildren, Ephraim and Manasseh, this becomes the way that we bless our children in every generation up until today. Those of us who do it, many of us feel it's one of the most moving, meaningful moments of the week, Friday night when we bless our children. And I remind you, as I remind myself, your children do not have to be physically present in order to give them this blessing. Wherever they are, they will benefit from this blessing, and I strongly encourage doing it every Friday night. Why this blessing do we give to our children? There are lots of very beautiful blessings. There are, for example, the blessings that Yaakov gave to his own children. Why don't we borrow one of those and give them to our children? Or other blessings that others gave to their children. Why has the Jewish people adopted this bracha to give to our children on a regular basis? I shared with you another approach earlier this week, but I want to share something with you today from the Rav, a small sliver of a larger presentation he gave many years ago. The Rav explains that this is the only blessing in the entire Torah that is given by a grandfather to his grandchildren. We don't find that anywhere else in the Torah. Yaakov established contact and communication between himself and his grandchildren. He was the only patriarch to make this solemn, historic declaration, and it's very strange. I alluded to it last night, and it has Hallachic significance. Ephraim u'Manasseh kiReuven v'Shimon yiyuli. My grandchildren Ephraim and Manasseh shall be to me exactly like my own sons, Reuven and Shimon. Avraham never said that about his grandson Yaakov. Yitzchak never said that about his grandson Reuven. Ephraim and Manasseh took two portions in the ultimate inheritance of the land of Israel as if they were sons. They become tribes. And that happened before he ever assembled his own sons, Yaakov's own sons, to bless them. before blessing his own sons, he gave this special bracha to his grandsons Ephraim and Manasseh. Hamalach hagoel osimi kora. The angel that has redeemed me from all evil, may he redeem you and save you. Yaakov embraced his grandsons between his knees and placed his hands on their heads, symbolic of his direct transmission to them. Avraham and Yitzchak passed on their covenant, their spiritual legacy, to their children. Avraham to Yitzchak, Yitzchak to Yaakov. But none of them had a direct transmission to grandchildren. Their relationship with their grandchildren, Avraham and Yitzchak, was an indirect one. There was a mediator who received from the Father and passed to the Son. Yaakov needed no interpreter, no son who was allegedly closer to the grandson. He did not need a broker or a mediator. Yaakov engaged Ephraim and Manasseh in a dialogue, in a direct dialogue. Yaakov leaped over the generations. He transcended the grand Masorah, the transmission of Avraham, straight to Ephraim and Manasseh, even though they were raised and educated in a different culture, in a different country, Egypt, in a different milieu. And even though there was a tremendous discrepancy in age, nevertheless, the Zaken succeeded in establishing communication with these youths. The old man taught them directly. Yaakov taught Ephraim and Manasseh, not Yosef their father. Yaakov conversed with them. He played with them. He dreamt together with them. He laughed and danced together with them. In order to be a teacher, a rebbe, a grandparent, one has to befriend the child. One has to be a playmate, a pal, a co-dreamer, a co-seeker. That role is very different than the role of a parent. Yaakov knew the secret of uniting generations. And it is a secret. The Rav said, I know many people who are very intelligent, scholars, inspired leaders, but they cannot bridge the gap of generations. Yaakov knew the secret of the intermingling of young and old. He discovered the secret language which all generations of Jews can understand. And if a grandfather can establish this type of liaison with a grandson, then so can a great-grandfather. And that means the line of communication becomes endless, boundless. Our hope for redemption is dependent on this ability. The blessing that we give our children, based on the blessing that Yaakov gave to his grandchildren, is the connection between parent and child, yes, but also between grandparent and grandchild, and it is also the connection that leads to redemption, because it closes the gap of the generations, and it allows every generation to speak to each other, to communicate with each other directly, to leap over the gap of the ages. That's why it is this blessing that is established for all time, because this is the blessing that connects the generations and assures the ultimate redemption of Israel. My friends, I want to wish you a great day and a wonderful Shabbos. Please give a very special bracha to your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren tonight on Shabbos. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon in person.